Unshakable people move in silence, discipline, focus, inner power.
The loudest one in the room is rarely the strongest. The one who constantly explains, constantly posts, constantly performs. He's not broadcasting power. He's leaking insecurity, because real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush to be seen. It doesn't ask for applause. Unshakable people move in silence. They don't need to talk about the grind. They are the grind. They don't need to defend their path. Their results will do the speaking. They don't brag about their character. They just keep showing up when everyone else disappears. You see, we've been taught that to succeed, we must chase noise, attention, approval, validation. But the great ones, they know something the rest never learn. The more you say, the more you give away. The more you react, the more you reveal. And the moment you let the world see your every move, you give it the power to stop you. But silence. Silence is strategy. It is strength refined. It is presence without the need for performance. Because when your mind is built like a fortress, you don't explain the bricks. You just stand tall. Think of the most powerful forces in history, not the ones who beg for recognition, but those who built legacies behind closed doors. Carnegie didn't tweet. Edison didn't overshare. Lincoln didn't scream for validation. They worked. They failed in secret. They bled in silence. And when the world finally saw what they built, it was too late to stop them. That's how power is meant to move. Quiet, focused, relentless. Not because it's hiding, but because it doesn't need to be seen. Because real power is sovereign, it governs itself. It doesn't panic under pressure. It doesn't seek approval from the crowd. It doesn't over-explain itself to the uninformed. And that's the mark of an unshakable soul. You could strip away the money, the titles, the status, and they would still walk like a king. Because their kingdom is within. That's what you must become. Not loud, not reactive, not addicted to proving anything, but so disciplined, so internally rich, so spiritually grounded, that no storm can break your frame. You want to be unshakable? Then stop announcing every move. Stop explaining your dreams to people who've never dared to build one of their own. Stop leaking energy by trying to convince the world who you are, and just be it. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is focus. It is every early morning when no one's watching. It is every late night when you're building alone. It is every no you endure, every failure you bury, every doubt you swallow, not because it didn't matter, but because you decided your mission matters more. And when your mission becomes more sacred than your ego, that's when your power multiplies. That's when the noise outside no longer affects the fire inside. That's when your presence enters the room before you do. Because you've trained your mind to be still while everyone else is reacting. You've trained your will to endure while everyone else is escaping. You've trained your character to move in silence and let your results speak the thunder. In a society addicted to instant validation, silence becomes rebellion. It becomes your edge. Because while they scroll, you're studying. While they post, you're planning. While they celebrate too soon, you're sharpening your blade in the shadows. And when the moment finally comes, you will move. Not with noise, but with certainty. Because you've been preparing for a long time. Because you didn't waste your strength on commentary, you poured it into execution. The lion does not explain itself to the sheep. The mountain does not bend when the wind screams. The tree doesn't shout at the storm, it just keeps growing. This is what you must become. Rooted, grounded, unapologetically committed to your path. Let others seek applause, you seek alignment. Let them need attention, you need progress. Let them be visible, you be undeniable. Beat silence, then a slow build. The greatest shift in your life will come when you stop asking, do they see me? And start asking, am I still moving with purpose even if no one claps? Because most people don't fail from lack of talent. They fail from distraction, from vanity, from chasing recognition at the cost of mastery. But those who move in silence, they know that noise is a trap. That visibility too early can expose you to forces you're not yet ready to fight. So they keep their vision sacred, protected, private. They move with patience, with clarity, with unrelenting execution. And they don't announce their greatness. They just become it. Every morning you wake up, you have a choice to prove, or to build, to perform, or to become, to talk about it, or to live it. So choose silence. Not because you're afraid of being seen, but because you are too powerful to be distracted. Because your mind is a weapon. Your discipline is your defense, and your silence is your signature. Let them underestimate you. Let them doubt your stillness. Let them wonder why you're so quiet, so calm, so unreadable. They'll see soon enough, because unshakable people don't move like everyone else. They don't flinch. They don't chase. They don't react. They rise in silence. And when they finally speak, the world listens. They listen, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. You didn't need to shout. You didn't need to prove. You simply built a life so rooted in purpose, so forged in discipline, so backed by results that silence became your loudest statement. You see, the world is filled with people running their mouths but going nowhere. People obsessed with looking powerful instead of becoming it. They confuse visibility with victory. They think noise equals relevance. But relevance fades and noise disappears. What remains is presence. The presence of someone who has put in the hours behind closed doors, who has wrestled their own demons in silence, who has gotten up at 4 a.m. not to impress, but because the vision demanded it. That kind of presence doesn't need to speak, because it is felt. Unshakable people. They don't flinch when misunderstood. They don't rush to correct rumors. They don't chase applause from a crowd that hasn't earned the right to judge their silence. They just keep building. Because when you are truly focused on your purpose, you become selective with your energy. You stop responding to things that don't build your future. You stop fighting battles that don't serve your mission. You stop talking about things that would be better expressed through action. The truth is, your time is sacred. Your energy is sacred. Your vision is sacred. And not everyone is worthy of access to it. You do not owe the world your plans. You owe the world your execution. Short pause voice softens like a whisper with weight. Let them think you're inactive. Let them assume you've stopped. Let them wonder where you've gone. Because the next time they see you, you won't be talking. You'll be delivering. That's what silence buys you. Time, clarity, focus, leverage. Because while they're chasing likes, you're building legacy. And legacy is not created by those who need attention every day. It is created by those who can disappear for a season and return with an empire. Look back through history. The Renaissance was not sparked by a press release. Da Vinci didn't announce his every sketch. Michelangelo didn't tweet from beneath the Sistine Chapel. They worked, quietly, relentlessly, day after day. Because real mastery doesn't seek validation in progress. It seeks fulfillment in completion. When you move in silence, you tap into something ancient, something timeless. You return to the roots of greatness where process mattered more than praise, where results weren't posted, they were felt. And you know what's beautiful? The world always catches up to those who keep building, so don't chase moments, build monuments. Don't talk legacy, live it. This isn't about shutting yourself off, it's about protecting what matters. It's about building something so important that you no longer have the luxury of distraction. You don't need 10,000 opinions. You don't need validation from people who've never stood where you're standing. You just need one thing: conviction. Conviction that your time is best spent in the work, that your value is not in your visibility, but in your vision, and your willingness to protect it at all costs. Voice gets lower, slower like ancient truth. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you've gone quiet. They'll wonder why you stopped showing up at places that didn't feed your future. Good. Let them wonder. Because confusion is a weapon in the hands of the focused. You don't owe explanations, you owe results. And when those results come, they will not come with noise. They will come with authority. They will come with a weight that can't be faked, a presence that cannot be bought, a success that no one can deny, and all of it will be born from the silence you kept. Would you like me to continue into the next phase, transitioning into the themes of resilience, identity, and legacy within the same rhythm and tone? Ban Ja Noi continue, ChatGPT Ja Noi, absolutely. Here is the next flowing segment of your long-form cinematic voiceover script for Unshakable People Move in Silence, diving deeper into resilience, identity, and the unstoppable power of inner alignment. Silence is not just strategy, it is sanctuary, a sacred place where you meet yourself, where you strip away the noise of the world and stand alone, unmasked, unfiltered, unshaken. Because when all the noise is gone and it's just you and the mission, that's where the real transformation begins. That's where you learn the sound of your own truth. The world wants you to be loud, to constantly explain who you are, to post every step, to answer every critic, to prove every move. But the unshakable, they don't play that game. They're too busy becoming. They don't need to say I'm working. They are the work. They don't need to say I'm evolving. They just show up different. And when people finally see what you've built, the body, you've sculpted the business, you've launched the mindset you've mastered, the peace you've earned, they won't understand how you did it, because you didn't build it in front of them. You built it in private. You bled in silence. You failed in silence. You outgrew in silence. You took the pain and you recycled it into power. This is what makes you unshakable. You don't just survive storms, you study them. You learn their rhythm, you feel their force, and you learn how to move without making a sound. While others scream into the wind, you walk forward quiet, but undeterred. That's not weakness, that's command. Because power that must shout is fragile, but power that can whisper and still be felt, that's real. You know what's harder than fighting the world? Fighting yourself. Fighting your need to be seen. Fighting the urge to clap back. Fighting the craving for applause when no one's watching your grind. But the moment you conquer that, the moment you kill your hunger for attention and replace it with hunger for excellence, everything changes. You move different. You walk into a room and say nothing, and yet the whole room feels it, because there's a weight behind you now, a gravity, built not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. And those who move in shadows run the game. The kings of history. They didn't scream for approval. They moved armies without making a sound. The great inventors. They weren't live streaming their failures. They were buried in notebooks, buried in setbacks, buried in obsession. The titans of thought and revolution. They didn't ask permission to be different. They simply disappeared and came back changed. You want to become unshakable. Stop announcing your every move like the world owes you attention. It doesn't. What it owes you is nothing. And that's what sets the great ones apart. They don't build for the world. They build because they must. Because something inside won't let them rest until the vision becomes real. And that's why they move in silence. Because the vision is too sacred to expose to the wrong energy. Too fragile to let be distorted by outside opinion. Too important to waste time defending. They don't post their process. They protect it. They don't cry for motivation. They create it. They don't wait for ideal conditions. They move anyway. And when it's time to show what they've become, they do it without noise. They arrive. So here's what you do. The next time they doubt you, stay quiet. The next time they provoke you, stay centered. The next time you feel the urge to prove, remember who you're building for. Not for the crowd, not for the critics, not for the applause, but for the future version of you, who's already waiting on the other side of your silence. And when you finally meet them, when you look them in the eye and see that everything you did in secret was worth it, you'll understand something few ever will. You didn't just build success, you built self, and that is unshakable. Would you like me to write the final emotional crescendo of this voiceover? The closing push that leaves the audience stunned, empowered, and ready to move in silence with fire in their chest? Ban Janoi, continue ChatGPT Janoi. Absolutely. Here's the final emotionally charged crescendo to conclude your powerful script for Unshakable People Move in Silence, written to leave your audience breathless, empowered, and lit from within. Because in the end, what makes you unshakable isn't your strength, it's your silence. The discipline to not respond, the wisdom to hold back, the fire you feed privately until it becomes a furnace the world cannot put out. Unshakable people don't warn you. They don't broadcast what's coming. They vanish into their obsession and reappear with proof. Let the others post their plans. Let them seek likes, reactions, validation. You disappear into the work, And when you return changed. Different eyes, different posture, different presence. You return as someone who no longer chases what you used to crave, because the noise, it never built you. The applause, it never fueled you. What built you was your silence. Your nights of doubt you walked through anyway. Your mornings you showed up without praise. Your decision to keep going, even when no one asked if you were okay. That's the part they'll never understand. They'll see the strength, but never the suffering. They'll see the rise, but not the solitude. They'll hear your name, but not the silence that shaped it. And that's okay, because greatness doesn't beg to be understood. It just keeps moving. It builds in silence. It suffers in silence. It wins in silence. And when the silence breaks, when the door opens, when the world finally sees what you've become, it will be undeniable. Not because you told them, but because you became someone who no longer needs to tell them. You became the kind of person whose results say everything, whose walk carries weight, whose presence shifts rooms, whose peace can't be stolen, whose mission cannot be stopped. Because you're no longer chasing recognition. You're living in alignment. Voice softens one last truth, spoken like a whisper that echoes forever. And alignment doesn't make noise. It makes impact. So move in silence, work in silence, grow in silence, and let them feel you when it's time.